Okay, y'all, this is my first Facebook Live. When I set my phone up, my camera was not that close, so I feel like you can see my pores, but we're going to press on anyway. All right, so my name is Jennifer Stone, and I operate a business as Multimodal Holistics, where I do holistic healing work. And one of the modalities that I practice with passion is quantum healing hypnosis technique. That's QHHT. And what QHHT is, I think my dog's going to choose to chew a bone under my table while I do this, so sorry for the background noise, but he's a good boy. QHHT is kind of a review of past lives and also kind of helping people reconnect to their higher self. I have a lot of people ask me, what if I don't believe in past lives? You can believe in anything that you want to. You're going to get out of the session whatever you allow yourself to receive from a session. One of my first sessions, she actually was my last practice session. For QHHT, you have to do 25 practice sessions to get certified with level 1. And one of my last practice sessions was a Seventh-day Adventist. And when she came to see me, she said, I don't really know why I'm here because I don't believe in past lives, but I knew that I needed to be here. So regardless of what your belief system is, if you allow yourself to be open-minded, there's a lot of opportunity to explore. So I've been doing this since 2020. To date, I don't have an exact count, but I've been preparing to submit my application for level 3, and I'm at about 200 sessions. So that's about how deep I am into this practice. And what I've learned, I have learned that every single person has a different experience, and even when somebody comes back to me multiple times, each time they come back, they have a different experience. So when we say to come with no expectations, that's really hard to do, but like legit, come with no expectations, because it will always be different than what you thought you were going to see when you came in. I have notes here, that's why I keep looking down. So I've been working this through in my head all week, what I'm going to say today. And as I've been preparing my thoughts, I thought it was so interesting that I've realized that over time, people have really gone through themes. And what I mean by that is when I first got started with this in 2020, a lot of people that I was working with, one of the lifetimes that they would drop into was Atlantis. And as I grew into like my next phase of people that I was working with, they saw Shambhala. And then a lot of people started to see Egypt, and I was seeing Egypt a lot. And now, like, I don't know, the last year maybe, almost everybody that has gone on my table has at least one life where they have gone to a different planet. And so I don't think that that's necessarily that different soul groups of people are finding me, although that could be too. But I really think that that's like as the collective consciousness is growing and expanding and shifting the energy. You know, there's a lot of talk about moving from like the age of Pisces to the age of Aquarius this year. Could be a lot of that. But I found that really interesting when I sat down and I thought about like the different lifetimes that people had seen over the course of time that I've been doing this. Like you could almost group those timelines into themes. I thought that was fascinating. So most people see really ordinary lives, and we would expect that because not everybody can be Joan of Arc. Not everybody can be King Arthur, right? Most of the time we come in and we live really ordinary lives. We have people that are shopkeepers. We have people that are nuns. We have lifetimes of being a native in the jungle, of being an Indian, you know? So like everybody has different experiences, but also very ordinary lives. And I mean, I would say that if 3 lifetimes from now, I went and regressed and did this, I would think this was probably a pretty ordinary life, but we'll see, you know, stay tuned. So, 'cause I'm a construction engineer is my day job, right? Like, I love the mystical and I love getting to experience it and getting to help people in this way. I really felt called to it as I reconnected with God in my way. You can hear my cat wanting to come in too. So my animals really like participating in what I do. So, you know, in these ordinary lives, you know, what are we here to understand from that? I think that those ordinary lives are really what show us the patterns that we get into. The way that we often drop into a situation where we feel really oppressed or where we don't know how to use our voice, and so we stay kind of in the background. A lot of times it's that we share these lifetimes with common people. When you're in session, you have these people around you that have different faces, but if you look at them, your heart knows that, like, that's my mom. So it's really fascinating how we reincarnate with the same group of characters. So being able to see, you know, like if you really struggle with your relationship with one of your parents right now, you can see sometimes what the source of that is. And sometimes when we know where it comes from, or like if our spouse is really hard to us right in this lifetime, but we see where we really did that to them in another lifetime, like it kind of shows that karmic balance that comes in. So I wanted to talk about best of. That's what I promised in this Facebook Live. Like, what are some of the best sessions that I've had? My first QHHT session, the first session that was done on me, Holly Talarczyk, which I probably said that wrong, was my practitioner. She was a certified practitioner in my area when I got started. And I'm sorry, my cat's going to tear up my front door. 1 second. She traded sessions with me, thank you, while I was working on my level 1 certification. And she was amazing. Holly was amazing. She was so helpful and welcoming, and she really helped me build my confidence. But in my first session, the first past life that I looked at, I was an asteroid in space, and at first it was just dark. Everything was just black and I couldn't see anything. And so I just kept continuing to like expand my awareness out into the space that I was in. And as I did that, I could tell that I was rock and that I was black rock, and then I was like, I felt like I was obsidian. And then I realized like I could start to see stars and nebula and other planets. I'm like, oh, I'm an asteroid. And what was so fascinating about that was that my fingers really locked into place. Like I could not move my fingers. And I fretted for that for just a second. Then I was like, I mean, I'm not paralyzed, I'm fine. And so I just relaxed into it and went on with it. And that's exactly what we tell people. Like, if you get into something that kind of puts you into resistance, then just relax into it and move on. Like easy. Just always keep the mindset of easy in session and in life, in my opinion. But as soon as I recognized what I was, even more showed itself to me, and I could see Earth, and like then I could see that there were hundreds of us, and we got into alignment for Earth, and then we just took course to like implant ourselves in the Earth. And then we grew into this grove of oak trees, and we lived at these oak trees for hundreds of years. It was a very peaceful lifetime, and to see civilization, to see man like build and how the landscape changed, and then they cut us all down to build stuff, you know? It was really fascinating. And I went from that lifetime to being a red squirrel. And even still, this was 5 years ago, and even still like that feeling of how much reverence I had for that body, how much I appreciated the joy of being in that little body, and how little my hands were really left an impression on me. And it really makes me appreciate even now how much of a gift it is to be in a body and to be here to experience the sun on my face and the smell of the wind and just the simple pleasures of having senses and having a body. And then after that, I went into a lifetime where I would have called that my fire witch life. And it was really validating to me because I had seen flashes of that lifetime since I was a kid, and I didn't know where to place it. And so then I got to like watch it unfold and understand who I was and what I was doing and all the things. I'm going to tell you about my first paid client. My first paid client did not have the experience that she wanted to have. I was just recounting the story for a friend of mine last week that had a difficult session with a client. But my first paid client, she came to me from Chattanooga, so she had driven up here. And I didn't realize it until after the session. She didn't tell me that until afterward, but she was hearing impaired, so it was very hard for her to hear me. So that's really helpful information to share with your practitioner. And then she also had gotten high right before she came in, which we always ask people, like, do not come in under the influence of anything because you don't know where that's going to take you, right? But she struggled. She got information, but she also kind of struggled through it. And so the next couple of days, she had messaged me. She was very frustrated about it. And I'm like, well, I'll refund your money, or you can come back in for a free session. Like, we can redo this. And when she continued to persist, I was like, thank you for your feedback. And then I was kind of done with that exchange. But I had looked on the QHHT forum like a day or so afterward, and there was a lady there that's one of the level 3 practitioners that helps run the business. And she was talking about like how she had a really difficult client that day. And not everybody allows themselves to have the experience, and that's okay too. Like, everything is choice. And so you get out of it what you put into it. And anybody that doesn't get there, like I offer for them to come back, right? Like, we want to make sure that they have the experience, but they also have to put in for it. We show up and we do our job, and the client has to be ready to allow themselves to drop into it as well. So in any case, I had let that exchange, like, I was trying to make peace with it. And it's also really bothersome to me when I don't feel like I have done my best, but when I reviewed what I had done, like, I felt like I had shown up. And so I just kind of let it be, and I made peace with it. And about a week later, she comes back and she messages me and she thanks me and she apologizes. And she says that she understands now what she got, like what she was supposed to get out of that session. And so what she saw in session was not something that she wanted to accept or face or admit to herself about herself. And so it really put her on like a dark night of the soul. Like, she really went through a crude awakening over that week. But then when she came out of it, like, she knew exactly what she had to do to move her life forward in a better direction. She was like, I really appreciate you not being reactive when I was, bombarding you with messages. Like, I understand now why I had to see what I did, and that it's on me, and she really appreciated the experience. So even from a practitioner standpoint, not everything is as you expect it. But I appreciated that because it gave me that contrast. I'd had all these good practice sessions, and then I had this as my first paid session. I'm like, oof, I got a full-time job. I don't know that I'm gonna keep doing this, but I'm very glad that I did, because it really has changed my life in the best of ways. My dog is thirsty. You can hear that. All right, some of my other favorite sessions. And that first session really was one of my favorite sessions because it taught me so much. And it also really helped me break out of a people-pleasing program that I knew I had. And that for me to get the other things in my life that I wanted, including learning how to speak up for myself, I needed to stop worrying about making everybody else happy above myself. So, and that's a lot of what this work is. We're getting to the root of our programs that hold us back and limit us and make us smaller than the really magnificent people that we are. So some of my other favorite sessions. A lot of people end up going into different days of this lifetime, and they think that they're doing it wrong because it's not a past lifetime. But whatever comes up for you is what your soul is ready for you to look at now. So even if it is something from this lifetime, go with it. That's perfect. That is perfect. It is a great avenue for exploring where you still have things that are holding you back. I had one client that was really intent on a particular way that she wanted her career to work out and what she wanted her future partner to be like. And then she, at the same time, was really depressed because she thought she was never going to realize either one of those things. And that's what she just kept asking me throughout the whole experience was like, am I going to have this career? Am I going to meet my person? And so when she dropped into different days of this lifetime and she went back to all the days that she still had resolution that she needed to work through, we did all of that. And when she got to where like nothing else came up, well, I took her forward in this lifetime. I took her forward 10 years in this lifetime. Like, tell me what it looks like. Where are you? Like, what is your career? And she ended up in like exactly what she had wanted to do. I'm like, okay, well, great. Well, let's go home. Go to wherever you call home. What does it look like? Who's there? And then her husband walks in. And, you know, is that exactly the life that she's going to be living from 10 years from now? Who knows? But in that moment, it gave her the faith that like allows her to create that in her bubble of reality. Because one fundamental principle of becoming more conscious is understanding that we create our reality. We create our reality. So if you focus on the things that you're afraid of, that's exactly what you're going to create, is more things that you're afraid of, or more of what you're afraid of. If you focus on the things that inspire you and that you really want, then that's what you're going to create more of in your bubble of reality. So I wanted her to leave with that sight of she's going to get exactly what she wants. And you know what? As long as she holds that belief in her heart, that girl is going to get exactly what she wants. And I'm going to love it for her every minute of the day. So there's one. There was another client of mine that also she had had kind of a traumatic childhood and really difficult time with her parents. And so she kept going into different days of this lifetime, but the way that it appeared to her, not everybody visualizes like they're watching a TV show, right? Almost nobody does. Mostly what you get is impressions, or I always tell people, like, it's not that you literally see it in front of you. It's like remembering watching a TV show. It's a remembering of an awareness or of an image, right? And then we work on making sense of it and diving into it more deeply. But for her, what came up was like she would be at her kitchen table drawing a picture, and every image that she had throughout the whole session was starting from a drawing. And so we looked at the content of the drawing and then helped work on resolving the trauma within each of those drawings. Well, the last drawing that she did was of a school bus. And then, as I brought her deeper into it, she's like, oh no, I'm on the school bus. I'm like, well, that's interesting. What are you doing on the school bus? Well, I'm driving the school bus. And so then when I went to speak to her higher self and ask her questions, like the whole reason why that's how she was shown it was to remind herself that you paint your picture and you're driving the bus. And that was 4 years ago, and that's still so very much present in the forefront of my mind. Every time I feel like something is beyond my influence or beyond my control from my hologram, I think, oh, no, wait a minute. I'm painting the picture and I'm driving the bus. So important things to remember. And I love the abstractness. I love abstract art, and I love to look at things in 1,000 different ways. I like to flip it around and see all the different sides of it and all the ways that I can approach something. So I really love the abstract nature of that. I've seen a lot of people retrieve really specific information. And I also want to pause and say thank you to everybody that did submit questions to me. I really appreciate all the interest and and all of the questions, because it helps me focus how I want to talk about things. And so somebody had asked me a specific question about how you get information from past lives that's helpful. So I've tried to structure all these to where I answered everybody's questions. But I have seen people go back into past lives and like read news articles, and they were back in like the courtroom and they could hear the whole case and they knew exactly what they had been tried for, or what they defended somebody else for. That I had one client that like read to me from an alchemy book, and it was amazing. Like she could read the text and she could tell me like different herbs that they used for things, and different times of the year that certain things were better for healing certain functions and creating certain outcomes. That was really, really, really amazing. A lot of people go to Egypt. I've had a lot of people go to Egypt. And I had one that was so deep into it that she could walk along the walls of the pyramid and like describe to me the shapes, the hieroglyphs, and she could translate them. I thought that was just fascinating, because like when she came back out of it, and a lot of people think this is going to be like a clinical hypnosis and they're not going to remember anything and I can make them quack like a duck. It's not how it is. 98% of the time, people are still present. It's really a deep meditation, but they still know what's going on around them. They don't exactly hear what's going on like in the background, like if my dog's drinking water, but they're not out of control. And that's really important to me. I do not like to be out of control of myself. So people are very much aware of what they're doing and what they're saying at the time. But, you know, I mentioned that a lot of people have been going off-world more recently. And the descriptions that people have of other planets is really amazing. And the level of detail that you can get about the soil and the biofeedback that they get from touching like the rock and the trees. You know, I've had people come in like an avatar kind of experience, and how they telepathically communicate with the other people of their planet. I had one gentleman who's foreign, he's Czechoslovakian, that had come to see me. In the morning that he came to see me, I was out walking my dog and I was coming back to the house, and I looked up in the trees and this perfect Cherokee Indian face showed up in the tree, and she just looked at me and I was like, ooh. And she's made of the tree, and I was like, what's your message? And she said, you'll find out later. And so I just said, okay, I kept walking. And when he was sitting in my chair and we were having our interview before the session, as I looked at him, like to my seen eyes, his face kept flickering back and forth from this black ant face to his human face. Black ant human. And it was so very strange. And I was trying not to look at him like he had an insect's face, you know. But I waited until I could tell that he was comfortable with me talking about weird stuff. And I did not tell him about the ant's face because I didn't want to scare him, but I did tell him about the Cherokee face. And he was like, my guide is a Cherokee Indian woman. And so she was showing up for me. I guess maybe she was just checking me out to make sure that I was legit. I don't know. But as he dropped into one of his lifetimes, like he went off world, and he went underground. A lot of these planets, like where they live and where their stuff is underground. Which I've seen that for our potential future as well. So that as we do build new things and new communities, that it doesn't change the landscape. So we'll see what comes about. However, he went into this amphitheater and he could feel other people there, but he couldn't see them. And I said, well, if you sit down and you let yourself relax more into it, your vision will become more clear, and I'm sure that you can see them. Well, they were the ant people, the black ant people. So the level of detail that they see, and that sometimes I'm able to see too, really stands out for me. I had somebody recently that was able to leapfrog from in one body from different worlds. So like starting out on Earth and conflict was coming, and tried to warn people and they wouldn't listen. And so like as that conflict began, took a tunnel to another planet and able to describe the star beings there, and they were beautiful and how they felt, and then even go to another place after that and another place after that. And in one of my earlier sessions with Andrew Bartzis, like he told me that I do that, and he would describe that in detail. And so as I've been working through my past lives, like I've gone back and I've looked at that and what it was like to like pop into Atlantis in a 3D body. I really thought that was amazing. The other thing that stands out is the range of ages. I have had people that are 20 years old come to me, and I've had somebody that was 84 years old come to me. And there is no group of people. There is no time where it's too late to find yourself and to find healing. I learned that from the gentleman that came to me in his late 80s, mid 80s. He was a young 80 something year old. He was really amazing. And how easily, like he had never done anything like that, and he had just started kind of in his spiritual awakening, and how easily he flew through seeing was really fascinating. How open-minded he was. I mean, that's really the key, is just being open-minded. And a lot of people worry about, what if I'm making it up? So what if you are making it up? If all you have is a good story after this, then hell, you got a good story out of it, right? The imagination is where our dreaming body lies, and that is where all of our soul memory lies. And so I think it's really wonderful to be able to let go and not really have a need to know why you see what you see and where it's coming from, but just to be able to make use of it in your current life. And so that takes me into healing. I've really seen some incredible healing take place. I've had a couple people with really long time injuries that walked away. Like I had a gentleman that had come to me that had used a cane for like 10 years, and he walked out to his car without it. Because he was able to heal his knees. I had another gentleman that came to me. He had an enlarged prostate to the point where like he really had a difficult time peeing, and it was really uncomfortable for him. And like literally as soon as we finished the session, he went right to the bathroom and like peed forever. And he messaged me like months later about how he still was so much better than he had been before he came in. I think we really have to remember that these bodies have an exceptional capacity to heal themselves. We just don't really know how to use it. And the medical industry ain't going to teach us that, right? Because they make money out of it, out of us being in disease. So when you get into a QHHT session, when you kind of let your higher self drop in and not take over, but be more present in it. Like your higher self knows how to activate the technology in the body, and you really do have the capacity for some amazing healing. The gentleman that I was just talking about that was in his 80s, you know, he was a war veteran, and he had some terrible traumatic PTSD. And one of the lifetimes that he dropped into during his session was a wartime. And the healing that he was able to have, like he looked at it in the face, and he legitimately told himself that I make peace with myself and peace with what I had to do. And then, I mean, I've talked to him several times over the last few months. This was 5 months ago that he came to see me, and he still has that peace in his heart. I had a younger gentleman that came to me a couple years ago, and he still visits the rock shop that I shop at as well, which is Stones of Spirit. Always go see Linda Bones for your rock needs. But he was struggling with addiction to porn and to kind of light drugs, but still he was doing them every day, and he's really resolved his dependence on that. So all the things that you can really heal yourself from and you can let go of if you just allow yourself that window of opportunity from it. I had one client that was unconsciously dying, like unconsciously choosing to die. And in working with him, he really turned everything around. He's a completely different person now. He's vibrant and living his best life. I think he just needed to see that there was something beyond what he had experienced so far so that he would have the hope to move on. I said I wouldn't be able to do 30 minutes, and I'm already at 30 minutes, and I ain't done yet, so sorry. Hopefully this will post. I had one client, I am almost done. I had one client that came in, and she's really not even all that serious, I didn't think. But she puts a lot of pressure on herself for what she wants to do with herself and what her expectations are for how much money she should make and what kind of career she should have. And so we went through her past lives, and also like a theme in her life is like not happy with the partner that she had had. And so she kept like cycling through different partners in these lifetimes. And then when I asked to speak to her higher self, like the whole room shifted. And she started legit dancing on the table, like squirming and dancing and laughing and just completely different person. And her higher self was like, oh, I just wish she would have more fun. Like, please tell her to have more fun. And I would say half the clients that I work with, their higher self is like, they need to have more fun. And that is what we're here to do. We are here to enjoy the experience. And yes, there are lessons. And yes, there's contrast. And we have good days and we have bad days. But even on the bad days, learn to embrace what is still right and good in your life. And that's the fundamental principle of gratitude. But we are here to have fun and to feel the sun on our face and to eat delicious food and to dance and to sing and to laugh and to co-create with each other and with the earth. We are here, like this is the place to be. When we're in the ethers, it's wonderful, but also like this is where we come to have the experience. I've had several clients that after I asked all the questions for my client and got all the information that they needed and all the messages from their higher self and from their team, I've had a few that gave me messages from the collective consciousness, and that makes me cry every time. And if you know me, you know I don't cry very much, but it's so special when you can feel that universal oneness communicating directly with you. Absolutely amazing. So in the long of this, my animals really like to participate in my work, so sorry. I really can't pick a favorite. I cannot pick a favorite. Every session I have is my favorite for a different reason. Even the session that didn't go as well as I wanted it to is still one of my favorite sessions for what I learned from it. But what I want to leave you with today is I had one session with a really young woman. She was the daughter of a client. Like I've seen half of his family. He's amazing. And so she's in her early 20s and finding herself. And so she did so good. She just flew through her past lives. The level of detail she was able to retrieve, this girl had no resistance at all. And as we were getting ready to like leave the session, like when I was right about to tell the higher self to recede back to where it belongs, like she saw her higher self. And I posted about this several months ago, but really watching her witness like the true nature of her being and how magnificent and eternal and strong and beautiful and big she is, and just that potency of presence that she felt that was her was so impactful. Like I will never forget that moment. I will never forget when I counted her out and she woke up and her eyes were big and she was like, my God, I can still see her. I can still see her. I can still feel her. And I think to myself, If I had seen myself like that when I was her age, where would I be now? I think I probably would have already been president and be building something on Mars or something. Like, because you don't have any limitations after that. You're like, if I'm that big, I really can do anything. Like, the way that that can strip your programming is phenomenal. And I don't think that she'll ever forget it either. And so what I really want to end with, after 35 minutes, so sorry, is like the whole point of doing these sessions really is to get back to the understanding and the acknowledgement of who we really are. We really are a spark of something so big and so great that it's all of us. And at the heart of that is we really are all one. So while we are all having this really individual experience, and God is having this individual experience through each one of us, at the end of the day, when we go home, wherever home is, we are all one. So I hope you enjoyed my recap of some of the best of. I hope that it inspires you to seek out something more mystical than maybe what you saw today, or maybe what you saw today is so mystical that I want to hear all about it, so call me. But thank you very much for sticking with me and for supporting me, and I'm just so grateful for this experience all the way around. So you're going to have to watch me figure out how to turn my phone off, but thank you all very much. Have a wonderful night.